Gargoyle's Quest 2. Gargoyle's Quest 2 is the second game in the Gargoyle's Quest series. This is actually a remake of the Nintendo version. There's actually quite a few differences between the original version and this version. I'll probably point them out as we go along, since the last time I ran Gargoyle's Quest 2 at a marathon, it was the original version. This game's very similar to the original Gargoyle's Quest, where you have a limited flight mechanic, once again, and you get health upgrades, armor upgrades, wing upgrades, and attack upgrades over the course of the run. There we go. There we go. Stick around at least for Nagus, because that's how far you replayed. Might do low percent practice after that. Nice! Well, good luck with your practice, maid. I can't wait to see how it goes for you. Yeah, Nagus is a little weird, but at least Nagus is consistent in this version. Nagus was completely random in the original Gargoyle's Quest 2. So I'm not gonna lie, fighting Nagus in this version has totally spoiled me. Nice. Nailed it. Now for safety, I'm gonna grab this heart. It's technically possible to do this boss with 2 health, but it's super risky. Uh-oh, we missed a damage there, unfortunately. Okay, that cut it a little close, but it wasn't too bad. And there's the Nagus fight for you, maid. I just realized I forgot to fix the credit split in Demon's Crest. 100%. We're getting our first jump upgrade here. That was actually why we got the pot in the first place, was in order to be rewarded as a knight and get the nail. I don't remember which nail this one is. I want to say it's the fingernail of the Spectre again. Similar to the first upgrade in Gargoyle's Quest 1. This enemy right here actually blocks you until you get the nail. So you can leave that town pretty early. But again, they just hard block you if you don't have an upgrade. Unlike the previous game, instead of using level design in order to prevent you from progressing any further, they just literally have enemies blocking your path. And that's the only forced encounter that we'll need to get into. Not sure why this game decided to not go with nearly as many encounters, but honestly, I don't think it's a bad change, because this way we get to focus on just the levels themselves. And the levels are really the bread and butter of a Gargoyle's Quest game, in my opinion. Now here is a very important part. We're going to be picking up this password here, which is going to set us up for a death warp later. This death warp saves us about 5 minutes of backtracking. So it's pretty essential to the run, but unfortunately it makes this particular category very difficult, because you only have so many lives, and you have to be at 0 lives in order for the Death Warp to really be efficient. In the original version of Gargoyle's Quest 2, there was a few things you could do a little differently in order to have an extra life. But in this game, you just have to be that much better, I guess, and to be very careful in order to not lose that last life, because otherwise you have to run all the way back. Which, it's honestly not too bad. As long as you're, like, the game's consistent enough where you don't have to worry about it too much. Here, you can actually do this entire level without stopping, but this first jump isn't very marathon safe, and this entire bridge is just very careful flutters in order to maintain your momentum. There we go. And next up is the jungle. Going to see if I could divide this into segments that don't have death warps in them and do mini runs of those segments. You might be able to. I'm not sure how well that would work though. Uh-oh. Well, that was silly. But we managed to make it up anyway. Fortunately, there's actually a death that we need to take in this stage that gets us back to full health. Unfortunately, losing the life there is going to prevent us from damage boosting up a spiked wall later. Or at least not damage boosting as far. There we go, nice little angled jump. In the original version, these little Cyclops bugs actually spawned completely randomly. In this version, fortunately, they're incredibly consistent. Now, usually we would take 2 damage mashing up that wall, but since we took the early damage, we can't. Here, we're going to mash up this, and we're going to take a death on this spike, which is right next to the checkpoint, gives us a full health restore, and pops us right on top. Whoops. There we go. I wanted to turn around there, but I just barely missed it. Here we're going to want to shoot an enemy off screen to make sure it doesn't attack us, and again here as well. Now we're going to want to actually flutter over that enemy. We can just barely make it to the other side. Take a damage boost here so we can drop all the way through. Turn around here, damage boost through both those spikes, and then take a death to set us up for the death warp and leave us at 0 lives. Uh-oh. Hey, decent fight. And we're off. So the reason why we wanted to be that level was in order to get a, honestly, I don't remember. But the point is we need it in order to make another dark candle. And we're going to be paying a visit to our good old friend Majora again, from Gargoyle's Quest 1. This segment's actually fairly similar to what happens in Gargoyle's Quest 2. We're going to talk to Majora. They're going to make the dark candle for us. We're going to stand in the middle of the room, use said candle, and everyone's going to turn dark, and we're going to get a very similar plot dump that we got last time. It's like you are the red blaze, or not that you are the red blaze, but you are a very particular breed of red gargoyle. Then we talk to Majora again and get the Wings of the Fallen Angel. And that's going to allow us to get past this next person up here who's going to be gating us unless we have this wing upgrade. And it's also going to allow us to get over this next bridge. Here we go. So now we can get past him, and it's going to be easy to make it over this bridge. That jump's actually significantly more difficult in the original version. I'm kind of glad they toned it down because it was quite difficult, and I'm not sure how a casual player is supposed to make it over that, but in the Game Boy it's not too bad. Yes, mate, I'm at 0 lives right now. So next up is the Spike Pit. Or not the Spike Pit, the Desert Palace. I was thinking Desert Pit from last game. So we're gonna drop through here, and it's really important that we switch to Brick Breaker, because not only do we need the Brick Breaker in order to damage these enemies, but there's a few breakable blocks that we're going to need to go through. Such as these right here. Ooh, that was close. Went a little too far to the right, but we're still good. Managed to get to the boss with full health. Oh, a little low. A little high. Now we can go right under him. Now, in the original, you'd be able to get some early hits here, but unfortunately, we gotta do this boss for the whole time. Oh, not good. Nice. Gotta get away, gotta get away! Yeah, this boss is way harder in this version of the game. Nice, managed to save just a little bit of time there. And our reward for getting through that stage is the Gremlin Stick. Now, in order to use the Gremlin Stick, we have to get all the way back to the town that we got a password in, but fortunately, there's a pit right here that instantly kills us, sending us back to our password, and saving us all that backtracking. We just need to head up into the throne room and use our newly found Gremlin Stick on this particular ruler. I don't think this is a king. In the original Gargoyle's quest, there's one king, and the rest are like dukes or barons. In this game, I want to say there's a couple kings. I know there's at least 2. Exiting to the right because it's the fastest. And now, since we used the Gremlin Stick on the Duke, let's just call him a Duke, we were rewarded with the Tornado. Now, the Tornado is incredibly useful. It allows us to make a temporary platform that we can stand on, but we can only have 2 of them on screen at a time. And the limit can usually be avoided in other Gargoyle's Quest games by just jumping particularly far on the platform so you can spawn another one. But in this game, it's a much harder limit, so you have to be very, very careful about each tornado that you use. There we go, making it over. Switching to Brick Break for this boss coming up. And heading out. So this is the Fake King. He essentially asks us to return to our hometown. But if we say no, he attacks us and reveals his true form. This fight's not going so well. There we go. And we're done. If you say yes, what happens is he just laughs at you and nothing happens. It's pretty anticlimactic. Right, next up is the twins, and a much more grand exhibition of the tornado ability. We'll be using the tornado a lot during this stage. That was a little sloppy, but we're okay. Nice, you want to avoid that fire, but you want a damage boost here and not kill that bee, because if you... Oh boy, that was bad. I need the tornado there. If you do kill that bee, there ends up having a bee spawn in front of you, and that guy really gets in the way. Okay, took a little bit of damage there, unfortunately, but one of the fastest places to die in this game is to die here, and we are actually setting up for a death warp near the end of the game. This boss is pretty rough in this version. If you're really careful, whoops, you can actually kill them before they get a second tornado cycle. This one's not too bad. There we go. You just want to be careful not to get hit by them while they're dying, because you can take damage, as you saw. And here's the real king. So we restore his power, and he tells us that we need to stop Brigger at all costs. And as a reward, he gives us another power upgrade. You need to remember to talk to him a second time, though, because otherwise you're trapped in this room. Yeah, the first death warp is a nice little chunk to practice made. It's also the most important to get right, because it's the most punishing if you die. So yeah, I can definitely agree that the first death warp's a pretty good place to practice. Hey Sloth, how's it going? Sloth going for his infamous Slothamid here. So this boss isn't too bad. You essentially just want to keep a nice rotation of shooting, dropping, jumping, and shooting, so on and so forth. He's kind of in an odd position right now, so I'm off rhythm. There we go. Got back on rhythm there right at the end. But otherwise, the Giant Mantis isn't too bad. You just need to make sure to keep a steady pattern. Another simple level right here. It's kind of a trap that you think you need the tornado here, but since we got such a powerful... Wow, I screwed that up. Since we got such a powerful jump and wing upgrade from the king, we can actually make it through this whole thing without any tornadoes at all. Next up is the Mirror Maze. This place can be pretty tough and take a long time in a casual playthrough, but fortunately we already know where everything is. These mirrors actually don't always take you forward or let you progress forward. Some of them actually take you backwards, even as far as the first room itself. There we go. Not too bad. Nice. Pretty good ascent there. Oop. Oh, shoot. This part's a little tricky to get right. There we go. Lost a little bit of time there, but the important thing is to have health for this next room coming up. So we're going to damage boost through these two. Damage boost through this one. We don't have quite enough health to go for the third, but it's still pretty good. And then we're going to take a death here. But this puts us at 0 lives and preps us for the death warp. It also puts us at full health for this boss. And now we just go to town. The important thing to remember about this boss is if he looks like you, he deals damage to you. So you don't want to attack it while it looks like you. Otherwise, you'll take a damage. Otherwise, this guy's pretty easy. You just want to make sure that you don't mash, because he's one of the bosses that has very, very long iframes. Could you have taken a death by shooting the boss? You take damage by shooting the boss, but the fastest way... Well, yeah, I guess you could. But the problem is you have to be very particular about it spawning in. So usually what I do is I just walk all the way to the right. I'm not sure when the damage takes to effect, but you might be able to save like a tiny bit of time by shooting the boss. Ideally, you would actually fight that boss at 1 health, but the run's not quite at that point yet. Grabbing our password, setting up for that death warp. Now, only one of these caves leads us to where we need to go. Fortunately, because this is a speedrun, we know exactly which one it is. Uh-oh. Okay, that was a little awkward, but we made it through, and that's what's important. Here there's a nice little trick. We're going to damage boost off that enemy. Ooh, come on. We're gonna damage boost off to that enemy, which allowed us to get up to that next level without having to switch to the tornado. Alright, next up we gotta talk to the king and the queen. Now, between the seer, the king, and the queen, we actually get a full suite of upgrades. So the queen gives us a wing upgrade. The king, King Rushefeld, gives us an attack upgrade, the claw, which allows us to shoot wall spikes and give us a safe platform to stand on. And the seer gives us a jump upgrade. And between the three of them, we're actually completing the Candle of the Ghoul Realm, which will allow us to break through a barrier and head to Goza, who's currently trying to summon King Breaker. Yeah, the game's pretty linear at this point, made. Now, since we're at 0 lives, we need to drop all the way to the bottom of this area. As fast as possible, hit the instant kill spikes. This is going to cause us to game over. And we're going to save a couple minutes of revisits and overworld movement. Fortunately, when you die, you keep all progress, so there's only one piece of the candle to fill. And now we can head out to fight Goza. Going all the way down to the last item, and we're off. Now, Goza can be a pretty tough boss if you're not careful. And this stage can actually be kind of rough too. You gotta be a little careful. It's not too bad after a while, but it's a little bit more difficult than the original version. Like, some of these jumps are much more difficult and actually require fluttering, as opposed to the original where you could just hold the button. Though a big difference, which I haven't really touched on, between this game and the original, in this game you actually have a lot more control over your fluttering. In the original, pretty much the only thing you could do was just go and hold the button. In this game... Uh-oh. Oh, that's bad. There we go. I screwed that up a little bit. Yeah, this is unfortunately one of the rooms with lag. Nice. Now, unfortunately, we screwed up some movement before. So we're gonna have to play this super safe, trying to get back up to full health for this fight. There we go. And now let's go kill King Goza. Switching over to the claw, and let's go. So we're gonna try to play it safe here, and not be too aggressive. Oh, whoops. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, that's bad. No! Shoot. That's unfortunate. Oh, shoot. Ah, this happened yesterday, too. Uh-oh, too low. There we go, finally. Ah. There we go. Saving a ton of time there, because in my last marathon attempt, I died 2 times. But yeah, Goza's pretty tough. It doesn't look like it, but you actually have a lot less room to maneuver than you think. So it's pretty dangerous to get greedy, especially if you accidentally get hit by one of those hand lasers. There we are actually talking to the god Demogorgon, who gives us our last power upgrade of the game. So we now have infinite wing strength and can jump super high. Here we're going to take 1 damage to prevent us from dying instantly. And a lot of this stage is going to be switching back and forth between different abilities. In the original version, we'd actually damage boost off this ceiling, but since it's so much higher than the invincibility, or sorry, not the invincibility, from the instant kill spikes on the floor, it's actually not possible to do in this version. But at the very least, we're able to use the Brick Break, which allows us to sort of power through these arrows. And we don't really need to swap until right here. So it's roughly the same number of menus, just a little bit slower than the original. Nice. Maid, you can shoot the arrows only as... you can shoot the arrows only with Brick Break. Here we're going to swap to the tornado. And let's head off to the final boss. Fortunately, this final boss is actually fairly easy. You pretty much just switch to your ultimate shot and you just go to town. And he's dead. Easy peasy. And time is coming up when we fade to white. Huzzah! Pretty good time there.